Good morning. Let's roll. Pasuk goes as follows. Im tishkav lo tichad v'shachafta v'arva shenotecha. When you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, and your sleep will be sweet. Let's continue on. Al tira mipachat Bitahon o misa'at so'ad rishayim ki tavo. Because he says, you'll not fear sudden terror, nor the holocaust of the wicked when it comes. Then he says, Ki Adonai yeh b'chlecha v'shamar reglecha milaked. For Hashem will be your security, and you will guard your feet from entrapment. Then he says, Al timna tov mibalav v'yod la'el yidecha la'asot. Okay, let's go from the beginning. He says, Shlomo here begins with the deepest sign really of instability. He says the ability to really sleep without fear. Right? Sweet sleep doesn't really come from a perfect life. It comes from a perfect neshama, because you understand when you make your decisions and when you stay honest with yourself and when you live aligned with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's path, what happens? Your heart becomes calm. And actually the Chovot Levavot brings us down in Chap Bitahon. He brings out an example of someone who always cheats in business, right? So this person always cheats in business, he'll have the money, but he'll always be scared that someone is out to get him, whether it's the cops, whether it's people around him. So he's always scared that something is going to happen to him. Whereas a person who's honest in business, even if he's not making that money, he's never in fear. Because he's never in fear someone is going to, catch him, or the IRS is after him, or anything, because he's just living a good life. He's calm, right? Whereas the opposite side, if he's not being honest, he's never calm. Even though you think you have this lifestyle, that you put for yourself. That's one of the gifts of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is that, when you work with honesty and you work with wisdom, your nights become calmer, because you're not nervous at night, right? When you're nervous, the night before you start tripping out. You're like, what's going on? I'm freaking out, this, that. But when you understand that everything's from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, nothing could bother you at night. There's also a much greater discussion when it comes to Bitahon. But this is the basic idea here, is that when you have Bitahon, your mind ends up not going crazy, your neshama is chilling, everything is, you're not fighting, the guilt and the chaos that you caused from the day before, the impulsive choices that you did the day before, the regret that you had from the day before. And like he says, you could lie down and you could actually sleep safe. That's what he's saying. Again, it's going back from the pasuk from yesterday. Continuing on pasuk Chaf, he says, do not fear sudden terror, nor the destruction or the holocaust that he's saying that comes upon the wicked. So the pasuk here really speaks about the fears that hit without warning. We know that you have shock moments, you have reactions. The question that comes up to your head: what happens if everything starts collapsing around me? It's actually very common in business. A person tells himself, what will happen if I don't make X amount of money? But who said you'll be here tomorrow to appreciate that money? So you might as well live in the moment now. We have people all day, they try to make the next buck for tomorrow, right? But just live today. Live your life now. We said this yesterday. 2 days ago. The Etz Chaim Hila Machazikim Ba. Etz Chaim the Torah is considered like Etz Chaim, like a tree of life. La Machazikim Ba, to the people who hold on to it. And we said the idea is that you have to hold on to it in order for it to be your life. You can't say, I'm not connected to God. It's hard for me to get connected to God. The reason why you did that is because you did it to yourself. God is there, but slowly you distance yourself from God, and then you feel like God is not next to you. But when you understand that God is always there, but you just distance yourself from Him, then it's much easier to start getting back to Him. That's why the idea. He says that, and Shlomo is telling you that if you walk with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, you don't have to fear the sudden things that will happen to you. Why? Because the sudden downfall is really the people who live a life based off lies. The life of a rasha is really the person who really ignores the world around him. So what happens? He does something. He's doing something bad for his whole life, and then boom, what happens? The IRS catches him. Right? That's a sudden downfall. A person who's living a yashar life, a straight life, you wouldn't have randomly this coming to him or this coming to him, because he's living a good life. And it's crazy that in the world today you think like everyone does it, so it's fine. Doesn't mean it's fine. Everyone eats pig, let's say, so it's fine if I eat pig. You're like, that's not how it works. But when you understand that you're not in that category because you're doing what's right, when you build your life with chokhmah, your foundation is solid, and what happens? the storms may hit you sometimes, but they're not going to break you because you know that it's fine. That's pasuk chaf. Pasuk chavav. Ki Adonai yeh b'chselecha v'shamar reglecha melaked. For Hashem will be your confidence, and He'll guard your feet from being trapped. And this is really the heart of the reassurance here, is that Shlomo is teaching us that the real confidence does not come from strength, from intelligence, from money, from being in control. Real confidence comes in a place in only one way. It's knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with you. That's a real confidence. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu is your security, you don't collapse when things seem shaky around you, because you know that He's the one in control. You don't panic when something unexpected happens. You don't feel alone when in your struggles, because you know that He's with you in your struggles. Right? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like He's saying here, guards the feet from being trapped. Meaning He not only traps that you think that you're in, but traps you didn't notice. Mistakes that you were about to walk into. That's traps that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saving you. People who may have pulled you down, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still saving you from that. Situations that you thought that would have harmed you, whether it's physically, spiritually, emotionally, there HaKadosh Baruch Hu is protecting you because you believe in Him, right? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu protects those who walk with Him, not always visibly, sometimes even quietly. You might think that something happened, you're like, why did this happen to me? And then boom, 5 years later, you realize why it happened to you, and it rerouted you to a whole different, That's really the idea. Then continuing on, he says, Pasuk Chav Zayin, Al timna tov mibalav biyot le'el yadecha la'asot. Do not withhold good from its rightful recipient, right? Because when it is in your power to act. Shlomo is saying something else now. He's saying that after promising, the common serenity and protection and the inner peace from before, he shifts now to responsibility. Why? Because the purpose of HaKadosh Baruch Hu giving you peace is so that you can give peace to others as a person. And Shlomo is saying here, do not hold back good from someone who deserves it. If it's your power to help, you have to help. That's the concept of chesed, right? Mm-hmm. We have to emulate God. If God is giving good to others, we have to give good to others as well. God gives you good to be able to give to others. Now an idea of this is that you use your stability in your life, to help someone else. There's a lot of unstable people in the world, but if you know that you're stable, can you use your stability to enable someone else to feel stable as well? Meaning, if someone needs money and you can help, don't hold back from helping them. If someone needs time, not just money, but emotional time, and you could be that person, you should give it to him. If someone needs support that you're able to give him, don't delay, go right away. Not only that, if you know someone deserves kavod, give him that kavod if he needs it. Even though it's not right for him to get that kavod, but you know that it could change his whole day, to give him the kavod. There's people who they just need someone to say have a good day or something like that, and it'll change their whole day. Sometimes the greatest pain people feel comes from someone who could have helped but chose not to. You see someone like, just give me $1. Like, what's the big deal? That's the thing. But Shlomo is saying here, don't be the person who looks away. Don't be the person who delays. Don't be the person who protects themselves at the cost of another. Because we have to be ki'ish echad belev echad. We only received the Torah when we were all one unit. That's what the pasuk says. We only got it like that. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you strength, money, time that you have, and clarity, and someone is waiting for the good that you're capable of giving, then you should give it to him. And notice the words that he's saying here: Al timna tov. Do not withhold good. Shlomo Melech calls it good, not charity. He calls it good. Why? Because helping someone isn't always charity. It's just doing the right thing. Right. Ramosha Feinstein actually has a beautiful question about this. He says that a person has to do maaser with his time. What does that mean, maaser with his time? Yeah. So you should give a percentage amount of your time to help people in need. It doesn't have to be with money. You know that you're a funny guy. You could make someone laugh in the hospital who's not feeling well. Boom, go do it. You could literally mechayem etim. I remember I used to do Chai Lifetime when I was a kid. The amount of hospitals I went to, what you could do to someone who's on his deathbed, literally on his deathbed, a kid fighting cancer, and you make a joke or you buy him a pie, pizza, whatever it is, could change his whole day. And not only that, when you're in chemo, every single thing that you do could really make a massive difference in your health. So if you're sad and depressed and you're down, that could kill you literally. Right. The opposite, if you're happy and it could literally help you live. Right? So a little thing, you could literally be mechayemetim someone from a little thing. You made a joke, you could bought him a slice of pizza, you bought him a hot dog, whatever it is, That's really the idea, that it doesn't have to be with money. You have to show kindness because it's the goodness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you, and you have an obligation to give that to someone else. Because God wouldn't have given it to you if he knew that you wouldn't give it to someone else. And if you want more from God, then show God, I'm doing something positive with what you're giving me. And that's what I did here. That he's not only saying this with monetary, he's saying this with wisdom as well. You could be a help for someone who needs a little bit of a push. You're smart in one area of business and you could help someone else do it. And don't think that, if I help him, he'll be my competition. Because then where's your bitahon? Right, where's your belief in God? If you think that if I help him, my competition will go away, then that means you don't believe in God. You believe that you're the reason why your results come. Right? I remember this, I'm never going to forget this. I remember one of my students was telling me how, his competition, he called his competition, and his competition asked him for some advice. Literally, competition. He gave him the advice. No joke, he called me a week later, my business doubled. He's like, because again, I didn't leave it to myself, I left it to God. I did my hishtadlu, I did whatever I need to do, and he pulls through the rest. And when you show God that I'm truly believing you to the point that I'm helping another Jew out, that's the ultimate bitachon. Have a great one.